Okay, in 3-6, we begin talking about equations of lines. And this is a topic that is covered in algebra. And so, like I say, it may be somewhat of a review for you. And so, when we're talking about equations of lines, typically, we get the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So, hopefully that looks familiar to you. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. And this is known as slope-intercept form. And so, like for example, if you have 2 points that are on the line, 2 points of a line on a graph, then we can get the slope from rise over run, so the slope is 3. And then the y-intercept is the place where it crosses the y-axis. In this example, that's at 2. Once you have the slope and you have the y-intercept, you can write the equation of the line. The slope goes in for m, the y-intercept goes in for b, and so in this case, the equation of this line would be y equals 3x plus 2. If you can get the slope and you can get the y-intercept, those are the two things that you need to write the equation of the line. All right? Now, in addition to slope-intercept form, there's another form that you may or may not be familiar with, and that's called point-slope form. And point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m, open x minus x1. And so m is still the slope, but x1 and y1, that is a point that is on the line. So in point-slope form, you need the slope and you need 1 point. If you have a point and you have the slope, you're ready to write the equation in point-slope form. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some problems that we will want to look at here. So the question for us is to write the equation in slope-intercept form. And they're giving us some information about the line. We've got to use that information to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. All right, so now, here's the first example. It tells me the slope is 6 and the y-intercept is 2. Well, remember, to write it in slope-intercept form, the two things you need are the slope and the y-intercept. Well, look at the two things they've given me. They've given me the slope and they've given me the y-intercept. So they've given me everything that I need to just write out the answer. There's no work to do here. The equation for this line is y equals 6x minus 2. They've given me the slope, they've given me the y-intercept, I just need to write the answer. So same thing with the next one. If they give you the slope and they give you the y-intercept, that's the easiest problem ever. Just write the answer. Y equals, what's the slope? Negative 1/2 x, the y-intercept is 3 plus 3. All right? And so that's it. So if they give you the slope and they give you the y-intercept in the problem, those are the two things that you need. You just write out the answer and you're done. Okay, however, in this next one, they give me the slope and they give me a point that is on the line. They give me a point and they give me the slope. So I don't have the slope and the y-intercept, so I can't just write it in slope-intercept form with this information. However, since they've given me a point and they've given me the slope, then I can plug that into point-slope form and rearrange it into slope-intercept form. And so that's what we're going to do here. So if you've got a point and the slope, plug it into point-slope form. Now, since we're not quite as familiar with this form, I'm going to have you write the equation down when you do these problems. So I'm going to write down the equation for point-slope form. It's going to be y minus y1 equals m open x minus x sub 1. All right, so writing in the equation every time does two things for you. Okay, number one, it helps you keep everything straight when you're plugging in. And number two, it helps you get familiar with the equation. All right, when you're learning a new equation, it helps you to get familiar with it. After you write it down 4 or 5 times, then you probably have it memorized. All right, so again, we have a point and the slope. We're going to plug into point-slope form. And so remember, the y will stay as the y, and then it's y minus y1. Well, remember, this is the x sub 1, this is the y sub 1. There's only 1 point. So the x number comes first, the y number comes second. What's the y number? The y number is 2. Well, when it drops in, it's going to be minus 2. All right, so kind of a shorter way to think about that is if it's plus 2 in the point, it's going to be minus 2 when it drops in because of this negative. It's going to change the sign from whatever it was. If it's positive, this in the formula will change it to negative. If it's negative, negative and negative will change it to positive. So the easiest way to think about it is whatever comes from here will change sign. If it's plus up here, it's going to be minus down here. All right, the slope they've given me is 3. That goes in for m. This is going to be x, and it's x minus 1. All right, so remember, when you're plugging into point slope form, the x goes behind the x and change signs, the y goes behind the y and changes sign, and the m just drops in for the slope. All right, so now I have plugged into I've plugged into, point slope form. Now I need to rearrange that to the form that they asked me for, because if it's multiple choice, that's what the answers are going to be in, and that's what it's going to be looking for, even if it's a fill-in-the-blank style of question. So now the question is, how do we get it from point slope form into slope intercept form? Well, you can get there in 2 steps. You just need to solve it for y. So I need to move the 2 over to the other side. So it's going to be y equals. At the same time I'm moving the 2, I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Now remember, what did we move from the other side? We moved a minus 2 across, and it's going to change to plus 2. All right, so let me stop right there and make sure everybody is with me with what we've done. We've moved the negative 2 over and changed it to positive 2, and we've distributed the 3. 3 times x, 3x, 3 times negative 1, negative 3. One more step, I just need to put the 3 and the 2 together, and I'll have the answer. It's going to be y equals to 3x, and negative 3 plus 2 is going to be negative 1. All right, so the equation of the line with a slope of 3 through the point 1, 2 is y equals 3x minus 1. All right. By the way, whatever we got from the slope, whatever they gave us for the slope in the beginning, better be the same thing you get for the slope in the end, or you've done something wrong. If they tell us, hey, the slope of this line is 3 and you get an 8 here, then you know you messed up. Just double check and make sure that that matches up, just kind of as a double check to make sure that you are doing the problems correctly. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so suppose they tell me that the slope is negative 1/2 and a point on the line is negative 2, 5. So based on that information, I need to come up with the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Now, what have they given me? They've given me a point, and they've given me the slope. So that is my cue that I'm ready to plug into point slope form. So write the equation first. Get used to doing that. So it's y minus y1 equals m open x minus x1. Like I say, that does 2 things for you. It helps you keep everything straight when you plug in. You're not just trying to do it off of memory. And number 2, the more you write it, the more you're going to memorize the formula and get familiar with it. All right, so remember, y. Now, what's going to drop behind the y? 5, and it's going to change from positive to negative. So it'll be y minus 5. Remember, the y drops behind the y and changes sign. M, what's my slope in this one? Negative 1/2. Open x, and the x number will drop behind the x. Well, what's the x? Negative 2, so when it drops in, it's going to change to plus 2. So like I say, remember, that's the shortcut. If it's minus 2 up here, it's going to be plus 2 down here. And the reason why that happens is because the negative in this formula. That would be minus negative 2. Negative and negative make a positive. So the shorter way to think about it is just say, hey, whatever it is up here is going to change sign when it drops into the equation. All right? So again, the y goes behind the y and changes sign. The x goes behind the x and changes sign. And then the slope drops in exactly the way it is. The slope will not change at all. It will retain the same sign. All right, 2 steps to finish it out. I'll move the 5 to the other side. So that'll be y equals. At the same time as I move the 5, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. Negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Positive times a negative is a negative. Half of 2 is 1. And don't forget, I got plus 5 coming over here. Now, when we do both of these steps together, that tends to be the thing that a lot of students forget. Remember, that 5 is coming over here from the other side. Don't leave it off. All right, if you need to step it out into 2 steps to keep from making that mistake, then do it. All right. So y equals negative 1/2 x, and then 5 minus 1 is going to be plus 4, and that's the equation of the line that has a slope of 1/2, matches, and goes through this point, negative 2, 5. All right. If you wanted to double check the point also, you could. If you plug negative 2 for x, it should give you 5 for y. Let's see if it does. Negative 2, negative and negative make a positive. Half of 2 is 1. 1 plus 4 makes 5, and it checks out. All right. A couple of more for us to look at and do here. Okay, on the next one, they've given me a point. They've given me the slope. point slope form is what I will start with. So write the full equation back out. Y minus y1 equals m open x minus x1. All right? And so let's go ahead and drop the things in that we need to plug in. So this is going to be y. The y number is minus 2. It's going to change to plus 2 when it drops in. Equals, my slope is 2. It'll stay as a 2 just like it is. That's x now, and my x is 5. So when it drops in, it's going to be minus 5. So again, the x drops behind the x and changes sign from plus to minus. The y drops behind the y and changes sign from minus to plus, and the slope drops in exactly the way it is. All right? And so the more of these we do, the more familiar we'll get with it and the easier it'll be to plug in. Now remember, you got 2 steps to rearrange and finish it to put it into slope-intercept form. Remember, the form we wanted in is slope-intercept. It must start off y equals. So I need to move the 2 to the other side, and at the same time I do that, just like in the previous problems, we're going to distribute. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Don't forget, you also have a minus 2 coming from the other side here. Plus 2 will change to minus 2. Remember, don't leave off that step. That tends to be the step that people forget. Okay, they just distribute here and leave it at this, and they forgot that they also have a 2 that's coming over from the other side. If you find yourself making that mistake frequently, then just take 2 more steps to finish. Distribute it out first, and then move the 2 to the other side afterwards. All right, if you need to. Let's combine together the like terms. That'll be 2x minus 12. And then there is the correct equation of the line with this slope that goes through this point. Okay? One more example. Let's try this one. Again, I have a point and I have the slope, so I'm ready to plug into point slope form. Now, in the next lesson, okay, we will get into some problems where they don't just give me a point and the slope. They give me some different things. But for this first lesson on equations of lines, it's just point, slope, point, slope, point, slope. All right? Or slope and y-intercept, which is the easiest one that we did at first. Okay, so point, slope, I'm ready to plug into it. I'm going to go ahead and write the equation out. So it's going to be y minus y1 equals to m. We're going to open x minus x1. And I'm ready to plug in. So it's going to be y. And y is negative 6. And when it comes in, it's going to be plus 6. Equals. Negative 1 is my slope. That will not change at all. And so now my x is going to be 0. So that's just going to be minus 0 or plus 0 if you want to say that. Or you don't even have to write it. You just leave it as an x if you wanted to. But just for plugging into the formula purposes, we'll write it in. All right? So now I'm ready for y equals negative x, and 1 times 0 is 0, nothing there, but the 6 will come over and make minus 6. So there's your equation. So remember, negative 1 times x, negative 1x, the 1 is unnecessary, because if you write x, then how many is that implied to mean? 1. So we don't have to write the 1 in there, and then 1 times 0 is gone, and then the 6 comes over, plus 6 will change to minus 6, and then there is the equation that you want for this one. All right. Now, we haven't quite finished this lesson, and this lesson is actually going to be split up over 2 lessons because we have some more types of problems that we need to look at. And if we just took them all at once, the lesson would be way too long. And so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to stop, break it off. We're not ready for the quiz yet, so there's no quiz to take for this particular section today. We'll actually finish up this section on the next lesson. And so we'll pick up right here where we left off next time and then do 3-6 part 2. And then we'll finish up the lesson. And then next time you'll be able to take your quiz. So just one quiz today over the previous section, 3-5. And we will be done. All right, so we'll pick it up here next time.